Today I've got 10 of the best air fryer desserts coming right up. The air fryer is awesome for producing fast desserts. And I've done a lot of air fryer desserts over the years. In fact, I've got more than 30 of them in my air fryer recipe cookbook. You can snag this at airfryerrecipes.com. You ready to see these? Let's go. Did you know you can make creme brulee right in the air fryer? Well, yes you can. You're not gonna believe how easy this is. We're gonna use 6 of these 6-ounce ramekin bowls. Lightly spray each one since we're dealing with egg here. You just need 6 egg yolks, then drop in a 1/4 cup of sugar and just a pinch of salt, and then just whisk that together till it's nice and smooth. Then you'll need 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. Go ahead and mix that in and add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now this mixture, it makes just about 3 cups of mixture, or I think it's about 600 milligrams. So we're gonna just fill these each with about a 1/2 cup of the mixture. And it looks like I actually got about 5 of these completely full. One of the last things I need to do to prepare is to get some foil ready for these ramekins because the tops are gonna burn if I don't cover them with foil. So I like these little pop-up sheets, and then I'm just ripping them in half. Then I rip those in half again. And I'm just going to cover up my ramekin, and you just want to make sure you have it big enough underneath the ramekin. Otherwise, if you don't have it going underneath, that foil is just going to blow off as we cook it. And then when it's all covered up with foil, go ahead and just place your ramekins right there inside the air fryer basket. Close it up, and we're going to cook it at 350, and we're going to start at 20 minutes. Now, because every air fryer is slightly different, you're really going to want to use an instant read thermometer because guess what? Creme brulee has an internal recommended baking temp. You're gonna wanna bake it so it comes to about 170 to 175 degrees. I have this whole chart that lists out all of these details about internal temperatures. You can get it at internaltemperaturechartcom, and I will send it right to your inbox. And see, I'm using the smaller 5-quart Casoris, and it's only 1500 watt. So it's gonna probably need maybe a little more time. We will use that internal temp here in 20 minutes and see how it looks. Okay, our first 20 minutes is up. I'm gonna just take a quick internal temp. Guess what? I'm just gonna poke right through the foil and let's see where we're at. Now it's done. Use some tongs or hot pads. Just carefully lift these out. If you're gonna use tongs, I found the metal ones work a little better than the silicone. And just set them out on a cooling rack. Let's just take off the foil to see how they look. They're not gonna be good yet, so don't eat them. We're gonna just let them cool completely right here. Now, once these have completely cooled, you want these to be totally chill. So cover them with plastic wrap and let them chill for at least 2 hours.
2 days later.
Once they're chilled, it's time to torch. There we go, it's starting to work. There we go, there we go.
Perfect.
You ready? Do you like creme brulee?
Kind of. That looks good though.
Okay.
Wow. That's actually really good.
We're just gonna gobble this one up.
It's like it's so weird. It's good though.
It is good. So it's not like as perfectly creamy as what you would find in a restaurant, but it was a way less hassle because we didn't have to do the whole water bath business. We just popped it in the air fryer.
That's weird. So you cooled them down?
Yeah, it's been sitting in the fridge for 5 days. I mean, 2 days. 2 days.
Not worth 5 days.
But this is one of those you can make ahead of time, you know, for your big party. Except more than 4 if you were having a big party. What do you give it, son? What do you give it?
Probably a 3.5 out of 5.
What? Just 3.5? This is one of the best air fryer desserts. For ease, it gets a 5 from me. It's so easy and it's still very tasty. Enjoy that one. Let me address one question or comment or idea you probably have. I've had it too. If you don't have a torch, can we finish this off in the air fryer? Let's find out. First, a preheat. Place it, pop it, air fry it. Survey says... No, that did not work. 4 minutes. Not really working. There's a little bit of sugar crackle, but now you just have really warm creme brulee. You can have maple bars whipped up in less than 15 minutes, and it costs way less than buying them from a donut shop. Up first, you're gonna need some Grand's biscuits. Now you're gonna stretch out this little biscuit to make like a little oblong shape. You just want it to look like a, well, like a maple bar. For the maple glaze, you need 1/4 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and 3 tablespoons of milk. Get it on the stove and set your temperature to medium. And you just want to whisk up all of those ingredients, stirring often so that butter melts and everything combines. And now that this is almost done, I'm going to preheat my air fryer at 350 for about 4 minutes. Once it's all melted and combined, take it off the heat and add in a tablespoon of corn syrup and 2 teaspoons of maple extract. That smells amazing. Now just to give it a nice donutty finish, I'm going to just lightly mist, and I'm placing oil side down in the air fryer, and I'm going to just give it a light mist on the other side. I'm going to pop these in. We're going to run it at 350 for just 5 minutes. Now I'm going to add in 2 cups of powdered sugar, but I'm just going to do 1/2 cup at a time. You just want to make sure it's nice and smooth in between those additions. At first, you're going to be a little worried because it's going to seem lumpy, but don't worry, because by the time you get to that last 1/2 cup, it's going to be nice and thick. Now if your donuts are still cooking, you do want to kind of keep this warm, so just put it on some low heat. That's going to keep it from hardening up, and if it's just like way too thick, you can add in another tablespoon or 2 of milk. Time is up. Wow, look what happens in just 5 minutes. Then once they've cooled enough where you can just touch them but they're still warm, just grab your little maple bar, dip it right there in the frosting. Oh, yummy. Make sure everything's covered, and just set it out so that glaze can harden. Taste test.
My
Someone's excited.
goodness. No way. The frosting melts in your mouth like a lot.
Oh my god.
Plus you can make these in 15 minutes or less.
I'm making this all the time.
You're going to? Guess what? You can make it in 15 minutes or less.
That one was the best.
So the best? Your favorite.
That tastes exactly like a maple donut.
Do you know how much those cost? Normally? Like if you went and bought that at the donut store, how much would that cost? Any idea?
How much?
Almost, I think $3, almost.
What?
5 stars for me. How many stars?
That's 7 out of 5.
5 stars for everyone. Ding, ding, ding. This one right here is the most requested dessert in my house. To start, you're gonna wanna use this baking chocolate. Now I've tried it out with chocolate chips and it works fine, but I tell you what, the baking bars or chips, whatever they are, it just gives it a little more richer, deeper taste, and so I do recommend these. You'll find these on the baking aisle right next to the chocolate chips. The recipe calls for 60% cacao. I can only find the 56%, so we're gonna go with that today. We're just gonna break up the chocolate, and then we're gonna use the microwave to melt this. And then you're gonna wanna run it for 1.5 minutes at 50% power. But you need to watch that time because you wanna stir it every 30 seconds. And guess what I forgot? Butter. Yep, you need 10 tablespoons of butter. Luckily I have a whole stick here that's nice and soft. That's 8 tablespoons. And then my kids always seem to have leftover butter that they throw in a ramekin. I'm gonna just cut this up a little bit. Learn from my mistake here. Don't forget the butter. We'll just continue on with the melting phase. And guess what? Just like air fryers, microwaves are a little bit different too. So you might need more or less time to get this nice and melted. Just make sure you stir it every 30 seconds. We are really, really close. By the way, do you like my little plexiglass whiteboard here? Got cute little notes from my older daughters. And you know what? Look, that soft butter only took about 30 more seconds to melt with the chocolate. So we are good to go. Now add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a whopping 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and 1/2 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and stir this up and combine it. And you'll see it is gonna get really, really thick, and that is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's like a thick brownie batter. But don't worry, because we have 3 eggs we're gonna add to it, plus 3 more egg yolks right into the bowl. It's gonna be a little challenging at first to start mixing these together. Now here's what I kind of muscled through with the spatula, but it's still lumpy, so you will want to get the whisk and just work at it. It'll take maybe just a minute of stirring here. Before you know it, you will have some nice smooth batter. Go ahead and grease your ramekins, and you're just gonna fill them about 3/4 of the way full. And by the way, I link to all the tools that I use at airfryertools.com, including these ramekins. Now you'll get anywhere from 4 to 8 servings out of this. It just depends on what size of ramekin you use. These are my 8-ounce ramekins, and then I've got 2 of the 6-ounce ramekins for this batch of batter. Now normally when I do any sort of cake or thick battery type things, I want to cook those low and slow, just because I don't want the tops to burn before the center is cooked. But these are lava cakes, and they are meant to be gooey in the inside. So we want to cook these uncovered at 400 for 8 minutes. That'll give you a nice gooey center, or you can go up to 10 minutes if you want it just a little more baked inside. And 8 minutes later, oh boy, a little burnt on top, which is exactly how it's supposed to be. And these are ready to just cool down a little bit. And I actually like to use metal tongs to pull these out. You can just set them on a cooling rack. Now these are the most bestest ever when they're nice and warm. So you might have to use like some hot pads to help you out, but it's easiest to get these out by inverting them. You might have to tap. It's the moment of truth. Oh, look at that. You can dust it with powdered sugar, top it with some ice cream.
It's hard to get. I can't eat it.
Me. Oh boy. Yep, just never fails. Always turns out delicious.
I'm done.
5 without a doubt. They're all 5s. And tell me, what do you rate this? I already know.
Is this Otis spoon?
No, that was mine. I just dished it up for you.
I don't know, right?
Okay, he's scraping it off the plate.
I give that a 5 out of 5. So good.
You gonna finish that off?
Is there any more?
Oh yes, and there's more. You are gonna love how fast these mini cheesecakes come together. For the crust, start with 4½ sheets of graham crackers and crush it up till it's nice and fine. Get 3 tablespoons of butter and melt it. Drop in your graham crackers and 1 tablespoon of sugar. Then mix it up. Add about 1/4 cup of the crumble to a 6-ounce ramekin. Use a small cup to press the crust down. Pop these in the basket. Pop it in the air fryer. Air fry at 320 for 6 to 8 minutes until lightly browned. You'll need 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons of sugar, and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Beat until smooth. Throw in 1 egg and mix some more. Then stir in zest from 1/2 lemon until nice and smooth. The crust is nice and toasty brown. When the crusts have cooled, pour in your yummy cheesecake. It's about 1/4 cup in each ramekin. Pop it in the air fryer. Cook at 310 for 20 minutes. Cheesecakes are done, maybe a little overdone. Carefully pull them out of your air fryer and let them cool completely. Get 1 cup of blueberries, 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons of sugar, and 1/4 cup of water. Boil. After the mixture has boiled and simmered for 5 minutes, you're gonna remove from heat and add in a cornstarch and water mixture and stir it all together. 3 1/4 tablespoons of cornstarch with 1 tablespoon of cold water and bring it back to a boil. And once everything is cooled, add your topping onto your cheesecake. Oh, that looks beautiful, and it's time to enjoy.
That's superb.
Air fryer beignets are so yummy and use so much less oil than deep fried beignets.
All right, first you need a 3/4 cup of warm water, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and a tablespoon of yeast. Now I'm using this instant yeast, so I don't have to let this proof. And I'm adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Then I've got 1 egg that I beat up, throw that in there. And lastly, a 1/2 cup of milk. I like how my child wrote on the measuring cup for me. Now, if you don't have a stand mixer for this next part, it's okay. Just use your hands. You just have to work a little bit more, but you can get it done. You just need to get it to the same consistency. So I'm using my dough hook, and I'm just gonna start mixing that up. To be precise, I'm just going to weigh my flour here. It needs about 2.5 to 3 cups of flour, and 1 cup of flour weighs 120 grams. So I'm gonna put about 300 to 360 grams in here. Whoop, there I got 378, so I'll just take a little bit out here. 361, and I'm gonna gradually add this in to my wet mixture. I'll do about a cup first. We'll just kind of let that blend in. We want this first cup of flour to just kind of get incorporated. Just scrape off the sides. All right, now that it's somewhat incorporated, I'm gonna start throwing in some more flour. Just gradually add it so I get a nice dough consistency. This is almost still like a batter, so I do have some more flour I'm gonna add. You just have to remember that if it's more humid, you're gonna need more flour than people that live in a drier climate. Now the secret to delicious, soft, fluffy rolls or any type of bread, make the dough as sticky as you can handle it. You know, it has to be workable still, but obviously this is a little bit too wet. But once you get it to the consistency that you need, you're gonna just let this knead for 5 minutes. And there we go. You can kind of see it's pulling away from the side. Still a little sticky, but definitely workable. So to make it easier to work with, I'm gonna just oil my hands up a little bit. And we're gonna take it out of the bowl, add in a little more flour, just roll it into a nice little ball. Then I'm gonna just grease my bowl, and I'm gonna plop my glorious dough ball right inside of there. And I'm gonna put it over here by this warm window, although it's actually really quite cloudy today. We got lots of forest fire smoke. And I'm gonna cover that with towel and let this rise. All right, it's been a good hour and a half or so, and this is beautiful. We're gonna just punch it down. And I still have my mat from earlier, just gonna make sure that's floured. Turn the dough out. And again, I'm just gonna grease my hands up a little bit to make this easier to work with. Now you can press it down or pull out your little rolling pin. And I'm just gonna roll this out so it's about a 1/2 inch thick. Remember, a 1/2 inch is about the width of your finger. So that's just a great way to gauge your thickness of anything. I love that little tip. And I'm just pressing down to kind of shape it into as much of a rectangle as I possibly can. Now I've got the right thickness, and I'm gonna just cut these, and I just like using a pizza cutter. We're going for diamond shapes here, but, well, I'm not the pro. We'll just do the best we can here. All I know is this dough is beautiful and fluffy and lovely. Okay, we're gonna preheat the air fryer, and I melted about a 1/4 cup of butter here. It might be a little bit more. That is a 1/2 stick of butter. And now we are just gonna get each little piece of dough, dip it into the butter. I have let my butter cool a little bit, and place it right in the air fryer. Ooh, it's hot. Now keep in mind, I did not say these are healthy air fryer beignets. I said they were healthier. Dipping it, trying to keep it in shape here. Just make sure these guys are separated here. Pop it in the air fryer, cooking at 350 for 6 minutes. And I'm gonna hit that shake reminder so I can flip them halfway through. Let's take a peek. Oh my goodness, they're puffing up beautifully. I'm gonna keep them here. I feel like I want them a little bit more brown on the top, so I'm gonna keep them on this side for a few more minutes. Okay, it's been 4 minutes. There's kind of the brownness I like to see. We'll give these a quick little flip. And then I'm gonna add just another minute here to the cook time, which I love. I can do this right as it's cooking. Okay, I just wanna take a peek. Oh yeah, these are ready to go. I'm gonna place these on a baking rack, and then I am gonna just lightly brush them with a little butter. And then traditionally you put beignets in a paper bag with powdered sugar, but I just really like my little duster here, and I'm just gonna do that. It's gonna be a little bit less messy. Oh, it smells so good. All right, son, air fryer beignets. I'm a feeding you, I'm feeding you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how is it?
It's like a donut.
It's like a donut.
Ooh, that's really good.
So I saved my blueberry filling for the blueberry egg rolls, and we're just gonna dip our beignets in them.
It's so good.
That's delightful. Oh wow.
It's so flavorful. It tastes like a rainbow.
They're kind of like scones. They taste like scones to me. They're delightful.
So good.
Enjoy this one.
I'm gonna keep on eating.
What?
I'm gonna keep on eating them.
You're just gonna keep on eating them. Okay.
One of my viewers, John H., shared this recipe with me, so I could share it with you.
This recipe, you just need some apple pie filling, some Pillsbury dough, and some cinnamon. Now just get a knife or a bench scraper, and you're just gonna cut this up into a bunch of chunks. Doesn't really matter how big and small, you just are gonna chunk it up. Now, of course, you could do this with any homemade dough, but we are all about easy around here. Okay, when you have your dough all ready, you're just gonna sprinkle on, about a tablespoon of cinnamon, and then you just need about 2/3 cups of apple pie filling. You can see it's about half of the can that I'm using here. And now, to be true to the apple fritter life, you just use the bench scraper, and I know a true baker would do this much more gracefully than I am right now, but you'll just mix up all of that cinnamon and apple pie filling with the Pillsbury dough. It's time to preheat your air fryer, and look at my beautiful log. I think it's gonna get a little messy here, but I'm gonna cut this into 8 little logs. I don't know. What do you think here? We are just gonna roll with it and see how this goes. So he told me to do 8. I've got 6 fatty ones, so. Okay, so I put parchment paper in the air fryer, and John told me to spray it with the oil spray. And now it's getting messy, and I've got to put these right in the air fryer basket. They're so cute. And I'm not sure if I have these sized right, and I kind of feel like I put too much apple, but we'll just see how they turn out. All right, then we're gonna spray with some oil. My air fryer is nice and hot. Okay, we're gonna bake these at 350 for 12 minutes, and I'm gonna turn on my shake reminder to flip them. While that's cooking, I'm gonna melt a half cube of butter, and I'm going to do it right here in a pan instead of the microwave because I wanna brown the butter. Just keep it down low, and it's time to check on my fritters, and they look beautiful. I'm just gonna try and give them a little flip. So I'm just using my silicone spatula. Wow, I'm really impressed with how nice these are looking. Flip them over. It's kind of falling apart. Then we'll squirt this other side with oil and let it finish cooking. My butter is looking just nice and brown. I'm gonna take that off the heat and let that cool for just a moment. Then I'm doing about a cup of powdered sugar and add in about a half teaspoon of vanilla, a tablespoon of milk, and that butter, and we're just gonna whisk it up so it's all ready for those apple fritters. Okay, these are done, and look how glorious they look. You might need to let these cool just a minute, but our icing is ready. I'm just gonna spread the glaze right over these hot apple fritters, and I have them on a baking rack to cool, and that icing will just melt down through all the cracks and crevices. I can hardly wait to try these. All right, I got some of my girls here. We are gonna taste test apple fritters. You're making a face. You and I are
I'm so excited.
Give me all the apple fritters. Try that little one. You ready? Let's go.
I like it. This has a really good flavor.
It is good.
I think it's better with
I like the
the
cinnamon.
apples.
How many stars? 5 stars? Good job, John. We like it.
Did you know that you could air fry cookies and candy? Watch this.
Air fried Oreos in minutes. Let's go. Crack open a can of crescent dough, roll it out, and place your Oreos right there in the dough. Then roll up each Oreo right in the crescent roll. Just pinch it around to make sure it's all enclosed. If you have extra dough, yay, more Oreos for you. I like to put these right down on some parchment paper, then pop it in the air fryer, and you're gonna cook it at 350 for 4 minutes, and these are done. No oil needed for these Oreos. Dust them with some powdered sugar, and enjoy. Frozen candy, just plop it right on Pillsbury dough. And you'd better believe, yes, these were hiding in my pantry very well. Okay, now that we got those all placed, I'm just gonna carefully lay this other little sheet right over the top, cover everything up a little bit, and then just use a pizza cutter or a knife to separate all of these. Okay, these look like little mini raviolis. And remember, these are frozen. And for these, I want to go with 350 because I want to cook the outside a little bit faster because I don't want that middle to get too gooey. All right, the candy. Oh boy, can't wait to try this. And if you want to get extra fancy, you can dust these cute little things with powdered sugar. That one has pecans. I'll eat that one. Here we go. That is so good. Ah, perfect.
This was the very first dessert I ever made in an air fryer, and it's still one of my favorites.
Start with a cup of milk, and I need to warm it so it's about 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius. So on my microwave, I can usually do that for about a minute, and it'll be perfect. All right, that is done. And this is where that instant read thermometer comes in nice and handy. Just want to make sure that temperature is not too hot. It's a little hot, so I'll just let that rest for a minute. So I'll just start pulling out all of my ingredients. And the fun thing about this is that you likely have all of these ingredients already in your pantry. By the way, I really enjoy measuring out my flour. So it's 384 grams or 3 cups of flour. And let's check the temperature now. Here we go. That's much better, close enough. So add 2.5 teaspoons of yeast to your warm milk. Now this is what you would do if you have like the active dry yeast. I have the instant yeast, so you don't usually have to do this. I'm just gonna make sure this yeast is still good. And to help activate it, you can throw a teaspoon of sugar right over the top. And oh, hopefully it's gonna be okay. We'll see how it does. We'll wait for a minute. While you're waiting on that, be sure to melt your 4 tablespoons of butter just so it can cool a little bit before you add it to everything. And check it out, it's getting foamy. That is good news. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my yeast and milk mixture right inside the bowl, and then I've got a 1/4 cup of sugar and 1 beaten egg. Now I'm just gonna start mixing and pour in my melted butter that is slightly cooled. And now that that is mixed well, I'm gonna add about 2 cups of this flour here. You don't have to be precise at this point, just kind of eyeball it. Go ahead and mix this on low speed, just to get it all combined a little bit. Now, when this happens, you'll wanna just use your little spatula to scrape up those sides there. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more time to blend. Now I'm gonna add in the rest of the flour. Goodness, sometimes I think I would rather have a Bosch mixer to make that a little bit easier. Now I'm gonna let it finish up. And when it gets to the point where it's all combined, you're gonna let this knead for about 5 minutes. And if you're doing it by hand, it's gonna take anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. You're gonna get so strong. Oh crap, guess what? I forgot the salt. Is this gonna ruin it? We're gonna see. I'm gonna try it. Darn it. That was just a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, by the way. Okay, let's talk for a second just about dough and flour. You want your dough to be like tacky, but not too crazy sticky, but not too dry. You do need a little bit of a bounce. It's pulling away from the sides. You could add more flour if it was too sticky, like up to 1/4 cup more if needed. But we'll just let that finish up. All right, it's been a good 5 minutes. Hopefully all of my salt got incorporated. This dough is looking absolutely gorgeous. Go ahead and get it out of the bowl and just kind of roll it out a smidge. Oh man, it's so soft and luscious. Then you can either just lightly grease your mixing bowl, or this time, for some reason, I got a separate bowl dirty, and we'll just pop it in there and we're gonna let that rise. If you're using that instant yeast, it usually is done in about 30 minutes. Otherwise, it's usually about an hour and a half, maybe an hour. So we'll let that rise. You know what? Every time I make these, I'm like, why don't I make these more often? I forget how easy they are to put together. I mean, it's just not as hard as like what I think it's gonna be. Why do I forget this? All right, let's take a peek. It looks beautiful. Okay, I like to use a silicone mat, so I will just lightly flour that. And yes, this is very likely from a teenager, this cut here. And that's okay, we just deal with it. Oh, this is so soft and fluffy. Luscious. I'm gonna just press it out a little bit. Flour up my rolling pin. Just gently roll it out. So it's about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch thick. 1/2 inch is about like a finger width deep. So you don't have to pull out the ruler. Just kind of eyeball it. Now you don't have to use cookie cutters, but I do love this set here because the outside like has it all color coded with sizes and everything. You're gonna want something right around 3 inches wide for the exterior, and for the little baby hole about 1 inch or so. Think that'll look good? That should look good, right? Or maybe we'll go that way. That looks like a fatter donut. Just get creative and use what you have. No matter what you use, they will taste so yummy. Oh goodness, get as many as you can out of that first roll because those are definitely gonna be the most beautiful donuts ever. Bummer. Then poke your cute little holes. Let's see how this looks. Oh my goodness. There is just something so fun about making cute food. So now that I have this first batch done, I'm gonna peel off the dough, and now I'm gonna just leave all of these cute little buddies right here to rise because I got another silicone mat. So just a little pro tip there to make life a little easier. Now with the extra scraps, just kind of mesh it all up together again and do another roll. And you usually get about a dozen donuts out of this batch here. And then of course you have the cute donut holes. And these I will just carefully transfer over to this mat. Now with the rest of this, I'm gonna get my slightly larger cutter and just make more donut holes. Here we go. In the end, I have 21 cute donut holes and a dozen donuts. Hey, let's face it, if you were buying that at Krispy Kreme, what? That would put you out like at least $15. So air fryer donuts are already ahead of the game. So we'll just give these about 30 more minutes to rest and rise a little bit bigger. While that's rising, put some parchment paper down and you'll want a wire rack for these babies to cool. You could also get started on your glaze. You'll want 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Then you're just gonna whisk in 2 cups of powdered sugar or 224 grams. And don't worry, it's super thick, but that's okay. Add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and then anywhere from 2 to 4 tablespoons of hot water. I'll start with just a tablespoon right now. You just wanna whisk it up till it's nice and smooth. You also want it just slightly runny. You can see this is still pretty thick. We want it a little thinner so it coats those donuts nicely. Look how beautiful it's looking. And now I've gotten that perfect consistency. You can see it's not too thick, not too thin. And today I did about 2.5 tablespoons of water. Now, since I want these to brown nice and evenly, I am gonna preheat my air fryer to 350. Air fryer is nice and hot. I'm just gonna lightly spray and then just carefully lift your cute little donuts and place them right in your pan. We're gonna save those donut holes for the end. Then just give that a quick little mist, pop it in the air fryer, and we're gonna go 350 just for 4 minutes. Okay, let's take a peek. Oh boy, oh gorgeous. How'd the other side do? Cooked perfect, there was no need to flip. Just carefully lift them out. Ooh, those are hot. I think we've got plenty of oil in there. I don't need to add more. And this time, I'm gonna just go down to 3 minutes. Batch number 2, glorious. Just remembered a tip from Dale about using chopsticks. I know I cooked these 3 minutes. I think I forgot to spray oil on. So let's see if it makes a big difference. Maybe you don't need oil on the top. Boom, 3 minutes. Now once these are warm, but like not, these are still hot, but these are kind of warm now. I'm gonna pull out my icing now. You can see it's been sitting, so it got a little crunchy and a little bit thicker. So I'll just whisk it back up. And now I'm gonna take this warm little donut and just pop it in there, both sides. I might make that a little bit thicker. Oh, but look how good. I think I want my glaze just a titch thinner. So I'm gonna just add a splash more of hot water and mix it in there. Oh, the next batch is done. Okay, how does it look? Did the oil make a difference? Oil, no oil, chopstick poke, oops. I'm gonna do the larger donut holes. We'll go for 3 minutes. Now I've got the icing. And here's a hot donut. I'm gonna show you what happens with the hot ones. It just kind of melts the icing off quite quickly when they're too hot. There's the donut holes. And the baby ones are going in. And for the donut holes, it just seems to be easier to just throw them in the bowl of the glaze. But I don't think the chopstick's the way to go. Here we go. I'm just gonna stir them right up into the glaze. Easy peasy. And I have enough for the other batch of donut holes. And the last batch. I'm just gonna let these cool right here in the basket because my rack is a little full. Now they've cooled for a minute. I'm gonna drop them right in there. Stir, stir, stir. The kids are gonna be home in about an hour, and these will be perfect and ready for taste testing. Except I might just taste one right now. Oh, so good. Or two. This is gonna be a fun taste test. Oh my word. Actually, maybe 3.
Now apparently I have an obsession with donuts. These old-fashioned cake donuts are so yummy and so fun.
Today I'm gonna use a donut pan, but if you don't have one, that's okay. If you've got these cute little accessories that maybe came with your air fryer accessory kit, you can use those. You could even use silicone cupcake liners. I bought this 2-pack for less than $10, and then I just cut it down to fit my air fryer. If I wanna use it in my regular oven, I still can. They're so flimsy that I would be putting it on a baking sheet anyway. Now my friend, who's a genius, used her hole punch to create some vents for airflow. Now, was I able to find my hole punch today when I needed it? That's a solid no. So my son, who's the ultimate problem solver, decided that we could just cut a cute little square right there in the middle. You know what, it's not pretty, but I don't care. It gets the job done. Now it's time to whip up the batter. Grab your scale so we can be nice and accurate. First, we're gonna mix together the dry ingredients. And we're gonna start with all-purpose flour, and you're gonna wanna measure out a 1 cup or 125 grams of flour. I love the scale because I can just be accurate. Next, a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, only if you're using unsalted butter, a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then 1/8 a teaspoon of nutmeg. Whisk that all together and then set it aside. Next, you need a room temperature egg. So you can quickly do that by setting an egg in some warm water for about 5 minutes. And to that, add a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, or 65 grams, a 1/4 cup of milk, preferably room temperature, and a 1/4 cup of yogurt. If you can have that at room temperature, that is good too. Just plain yogurt works here. You could use Greek yogurt. Today I'm just using plain regular yogurt. And that would be 60 grams of the yogurt and the milk. Then whisk that together till the yogurt is nice and smooth and incorporated, and then add 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of melted unsalted butter, and then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Whisk that all together. Then we're gonna add the wet to the dry, and you just wanna be sure to only mix it until everything's combined. Do not overmix this. Next, we're gonna spray the containers. Now we're using silicone containers, but I still like to spray just in case. Some of you have been wondering how I'm liking my new Misto oil sprayer, and I actually am loving it. I will link to that down below. Now it's time to fill the pans. The easiest way to fill that donut mold is to pipe the batter in. Now, if you don't have a piping bag, that's totally fine. You could also use like a plastic storage bag and just snip a little hole in the corner. I like to spray mine just lightly with some oil so everything squeezes out nice and clean. Then when the bag is ready, you just place it right down inside of a cup and fiddle along the edges so you can fill it up with your batter. Oh, it makes it so much easier. This recipe is gonna be just enough to do 8 donuts. So you can see that I kind of overfilled some of those early ones. So it's not a big deal, just spoon some of the batter from the ones that you overfilled to fill that 8th little donut cavity. I also made a second batch and used my cute little donut bite pan. That does have a little bit of a different baking time, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to preheat your air fryer for this one. I ran mine at 400 for 3 to 4 minutes. And for the donuts, I went ahead and baked them at 330 degrees for 6 minutes. And while that's baking, go ahead and make up your cinnamon and sugar mixture. It's just 1 cup or 200 grams of sugar and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And then you want to melt maybe a 1/2 to 1 stick of butter. If you'd rather do frosting or icing for your donuts, I have a recipe down below you could test out. Now here they are when they came out. I used my instant read thermometer to make sure they were cooked all the way through, and you can see it's well above 160, so I know they are done. And if you haven't gotten my free download that lists out all the internal baking temps for meat and baked goods, be sure to click on that link below and I can send that to you so everyone in your house can know all the very important things about the air fryer. And those cute little donut bites, well, they baked at 350 for 6 minutes and they were perfect. And note that I did not fill the middle opening there because I found that the food in the center does not cook as evenly. I gave it just a couple minutes to cool down, and then check it out. You just pop them right out of the little donut cavities. The little holes popped out perfectly. Give it a little dunk in butter, coat it with that cinnamon and sugar, and then here is an extra fun touch. You can pop those back in the air fryer, run it at 350 or 400 degrees for 2 minutes, and that's just gonna give that cinnamon and sugar a little extra crisp.
Now here is an even faster version of chocolate lava cakes that you are sure to love.
Lightly spray 4 ramekins, flatten your cookie dough and place it in the ramekin. Throw down some baking chocolate and 1 more squished up cookie dough. Pop them in the air fryer. Cook it at 320 for 7 minutes. Check it out. Whoop. Oh yeah. So good? Oh yes.
Now if you thought these desserts were amazing, you gotta check out the very best dinner ideas right here. And then make sure you know these top 20 air fryer tips. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.